Hello everyone, my name is Davinder Singh, and in today's topic we will be discussing about SAST versus DAST. So this topic is much more relevant to the understanding about the jobs which we are there in multiple organizations and how particularly the concept of job roles works. So SAST and DAST are some of the most demanding things which are required into your job profiles. It depends upon what job profile you want to go for. So we'll be discussing about SAST and DAST, and we'll be going through different meaningful. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages of each of them? Okay, so we'll be discussing about that. So to start with, what is SAST and DAST? Okay, so the SAST and DAST are application security testing methodologies. Okay, which are used to find security vulnerabilities that can make an application susceptible of attack. So SAST and DAST both play the same role for testing of security testing, but the impact and the place of testing differs. So static application security testing is actually a white box method, if we can define it, and it examines the code to find software flaws. Okay, to find the software flaws and the weakness, such as an it could be we can consider it a OS top 10. So I hope everyone knows about OS top 10. If not, then these are top 10 vulnerabilities which are commonly occurring across the applications, and this is the scope which is defined for testing purpose. So with the help of OS top 10, we define the scope of what the vulnerabilities have to be tested based on the ranking and the criticality and severity, and then we do the test. And for dynamic application security testing, which is basically known as DAST, is a black box testing methodology where we examine the application, okay, as a black box tester and test the vulnerabilities which could lead to any exploitation. So many organizations, as big MNCs, mid-level organizations, will have a separate projects for both SAST and DAST, and based on which project you land, which profile you're picking, you get to work on the different things. So SAST one, we most of the time we work on the code level, and the DAST one we work on the application level. So let's try to first understand what is DAST. Okay, so DAST stands for Dynamic Application Security Testing. Okay, so this is a security tool that is used to scan any web application to find security vulnerabilities. Okay, so these tools used to detect vulnerabilities inside a web application that has to be deployed to production. So the environment has to be very safe for the DAST so that the testing could be performed. So we cannot deviate from the environment. So the environment could be which we basically tell as a UAT, user acceptance testing platform, where the environment is duplicate to the production, and everything is as it is, and we can go ahead and perform the testing over there. And once the testing is confirmed and we feel like, okay, there are no major flaws, no critical and medium issues, high issues over there, then we can deploy the same thing to the production. So these tools are very different from SAST. So the tools for DAST are very different. The famous one is Burp Suite Pro, which we can use for all the pen testing and assessment, everyone, and that could lead to the DAST process. So coming back to the SAST, okay. So what a SAST basically means? SAST stands for Static Application Security Testing. So many people tend to develop an application that could automate or execute process very fast and also improve performance and user experience, thereby forgetting the negative impact of the application which lacks in the security. So in order to make the application much more faster, sometimes what a developer can do does is he just exposes every data, so that he doesn't have to go and call one by one date like one by one into the backend to get the data and show it one on the different instance. They just gather in the one instance, and then they try to use it on the every other level. But what they give a flaw over there is, if a person is able to access, he will be able to see the data which they are not intended to see. Okay, so security testing is not about the speed and the performance, it's actually about the finding the vulnerabilities. So how about the vulnerabilities we find? In the SAST, basically, we go and find about the code. Basically, we test the code, we go through the codes, we find out the vulnerabilities which are there in the code using the snippets. If they're performing any, suppose for example, if for an SQL query, they are SQL injection attack, they're using a parameterized query or not. If they're not using a parameterized query, that could lead to an SQL injection attack. But if they are using a parameterized query, that could be a remediation for that. Same goes for the encryption. We can go and see what kind of different encryption methods have been used, whether they have used the proper content security policies or not, different headers forms of it. So these things before the deployment of the application, when it could be tested from the code level to make sure that application is safe and secure to be deployed to the production, comes as a SAST. Okay. So why it is static? It is because the test is done before the application is live and running, and SAST can help to detect vulnerabilities in your application before the world finds them. So SAST, some of the famous tools are Fortify. So Fortify is using which you can go and do the static code analysis. Okay, and you can actually find the remediations, and that tool can actually give you the issues, the uh, exact snippet where the uh, root cause of the issue is, and you can even get the remediations and everything from there. So SAST uses a testing methodology of a black box. Okay, so analyzing the source code to detect any traces that could lead to backdoor of an attack. Okay, so now we will be coming about trying to get the difference between the SAST and DAST. We'll try to understand what is the major difference between SAST and DAST, and what a cybersecurity analyst have to learn in order to pursue their career in both SAST and DAST. Now there is a time where a cybersecurity analyst have to be robust and could not stick to one job role. They should be robust in working in both the places. That goes for MNCs and every organization. So let's try to understand a small difference about what is the major difference between SAS and DAST, and where we have to learn the path to be able to achieve both the things. So SAST is basically, as we know, it is a white box. White box means the tester has access to the underlying framework, design, implementation. So they have the in-depth knowledge of the application background of how it is being built, what languages they have used, okay, what database they are using. So all the other details and everything will be there. Okay, coming back to DAST, it is a complete black box. Okay, the tester has no knowledge of the technologies of framework, so they themselves have to dig it up using different information gathering enumeration tools to find these informations and then start testing it. Okay, these types of testing represent a hacker approach. Basically, when a hacker will not know anything, they will just start everything from the scratch. And the SAST requires a source code. Okay, so everything like SAST doesn't require a proper deployment of the application. If a, like suppose a Java project, if the main jar file is built, okay, the build is given to us, we can use the automated tools to scan it, okay, and get the output, and then go ahead and perform the false positive and true positive analysis on that. Okay, whereas coming to Dash, the application has to be deployed. Either it could be deployed in the UAT, either it can be deployed to your local build itself. So the place of the testing could differ to be different, but the main thing is the application has to be deployed. Okay, so in the SaaS, finding vulnerabilities earlier into the SDLC. So SDLC basically is the software development lifecycle, which plays a very important role during the application building, analysis, coding, testing, then deployment to the uh, like production. So these SDLC, okay. So in the SDLC, SAST comes before the deployment, okay, and that saves a lot of money and reputation to the organization. So, for example, if we can say, suppose any big organization like Facebook or Google, if they want to deploy something, and before the deployment to the production, if these critical vulnerabilities are tested and fixed, rather than going to production, that will save a lot of image of the organization. The once the like post production, if we get any vulnerability, what happens? The stock market of the organization will go down. They lose the customers, they lose money, basically reputation and money. So that companies are very much worried about. So SAST gives you a upper hand when you go and test the application before the deployment. Okay, whereas in DAST, the find the vulnerabilities towards the end of the SDLC. Basically, end of the SDLC we can say as before the deployment of the application, it goes to a UAT environment. Okay, UAT, which is a user acceptance testing, as I said. So in that case, when we find out the vulnerabilities, what happens is that if we find any critical vulnerability, again that issue goes to the development team to get it fixed, and again it has to come back to the same loophole. Okay, so that will cause a delay in the release of an application, and suppose any big application which has already announced their date of release, that could hamper their image, right? So the finding vulnerability towards the end of the SDLC. So SAST and DAST both are very important. SAST and DAST are both are very important. It's not like we can only go for SAST and we cannot go for DAST. That's not the approach we can do. Both are very important and both have to be performed simultaneously. But the thing is, some major part of the chunk of the testing can be done from the SAST, and some part of the testing can be achieved from the DAST. So when these two both are combined, could lead to a very big success and on-time delivery of the product. Okay, so coming back to, let's discuss more about the difference. So SAST is, as I said, less expensive to fix vulnerabilities. Since vulnerabilities are found earlier in the SDLC stage, it's easier and faster to remediate them. Finding any often fix before the code enters the QA. QA is actually quality analysis cycle, where there are no business logic fails and other things. Okay, so DAST. So more expensive to fix the vulnerabilities since it is towards the end. Again, you have to go back and fix the issues. Again, you have to come back to the SDLC one by one. Again, the QA has to analyze it. Again, you have to deploy in the environment. Either it could be a patch or either it could be a full build based on the what critical issues and how many APIs they need to fix those things. Okay, so SAST is can't discover runtime the environment related issues. So there are some flaws of the SAST, right? Where when the runtime things come, SAST cannot predict it through the code. That has to be predicted from the DAST level. Okay, so and goes to the DAST can discover a runtime and environment related issues over there. Most of the time, it is related to business logics where access controls and all those things can occur. So those things are more easy to find in the DAST than in the SAST, because SAST code it will be quite difficult to find out. I cannot say it is impossible, but it will be quite difficult to find out the SAST thing in the SAST process. Okay, and towards the SAST typically supports it will support all kinds of software. Okay, thick web application, web services, thick clients. Okay, and in the DAST it typically scans only the like web application and web services. It cannot go for some thick clients. Okay, now we have discussed about the difference about the SAST and DAST. Now let's try to understand about the advantages. What are the advantages of the SAST which could inspire you to go and explore this field basically? So the main advantages of this is that issues, okay, finding issues or looking for vulnerabilities pattern for internationally recognized coding standards. Basically, we can be defined about the coding standards, how the coding standard is being followed or not, because we all know people can code on their own way, but there is a standard which has to be followed to avoid any kind of critical vulnerabilities. So early defect detection and remediation could lead to low cost of remediations. Basically, simultaneously it could be built, and simultaneously a jar file can be built and could be tested. Okay, and there is a shift left approach analysis available everywhere, which is including to CI/CD pipelining basically. So these things are more related to DevOps and DevSecOps. Okay, so it is more easy to automate, scalable, and automatically provide the highest level of code coverage. When the code is covered to a highest extent, even the deployment team will have a lot of confidence that they will be able to achieve what they are looking for. They will be confident that the application, when it is going to the production, will not have any security related flaws, at least. Okay, and see, we already told the feedback is fast and provides exact location of the vulnerability, exact line of code, a snippet can be provided. So these are things are related to project. Somewhere you will be able to get access to the complete code, but somewhere you will be just given the snippets. So all these tools are capable of doing these things. It just depends upon the project to project where you work. So if you get to know a complete code, then you can actually go to each classes and see where these things are being called. But if you get the snippet also, the snippet will tell you the each particular line of code where that problem occurs. And then you can go and as a cybersecurity analyst, you can go and discuss with the development team. You can go forward with them, you can discuss with them, okay, so this is the flaw which is there, I see in this code number, this line of code, you're using such and such things, is it secure? So there could be a chance whether the developer has actually used the remediation in some other place. Okay, so if he has used some remediation some other place, the developer will show you, okay, no, I have used this, I have used it. So, okay, that time this issue becomes a false positive, means we have to eliminate the issue because the remediation has been implemented. But if not, the team has to go and implement and fix everything and again come back to us for the testing and the verification. Okay, and some of the advantages of DAST now. Okay, so DAST is also one of the most important things. So let's try to discuss some advantages of DAST. So advantages of DAST is that analyzes the whole application as it runs, the behavior of the application, the flow of the application, the business logics of the application. So we get to test the things as it is within the full system environment, means proper configuration, proper environment, everything as it is. We get to test this. Okay. So look inside the application and dynamically analyze, execute live data. Okay. Manipulate the data. Okay, checks the memory consumption. Basically the memory consumption is very important. In the task level, when you go through thorough testing, you can even get to know how the application is basically responding. When I'm trying to sending n number of requests to the application, how the application responds. If the application is responding slow, means there are load servers issues over there, so the application team has to deploy the load servers to in order to get these issues fixed. So these are the things which even from like from security perspective or not, we can actually help the team to get to know and take the advantages and see the if the servers are able to handle the things or not. Okay, then it could we can verify the privileges, permissions. Okay, where as I said, broken access control, where I could lead to accessing the data which I should not be intended to do. Okay, but if these kind of things I'm able to do, that things can be achieved from DAST. Okay, so we can even catch a hard application failures. Okay, we can go through the errors and everything. Okay, we can check the memory consumption, we can break the encryption algorithms from outside. Okay, we can go and analyze the packets and see whether the data transform is actually going in encrypted format or not, or if it is going to the encrypted format, can we go ahead and do the break the algorithm, the encryption algorithm, and try to see if we are able to decrypt it. Okay, we can find out many UI based basically. See, SAST basically goes for the server code level, right? But these things, okay, server code level, you can say as a front end, back end, both side. But when it comes to dash side, you can from the behavior level, you can actually from the header level, you can actually go and test kind of cross-site scripting attacks, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, cookie manipulation. I could manipulate the cookie. So I told, right, Burp Suite Pro. Burp Suite Pro is a very famous tool which can help you in doing or performing all these things, where you can actually capture the request, you can intercept the things, you can do the manipulation as per your changes, you can add some extra parameters, you can remove the parameters, you can change the request types, and then you can test those things. Okay, so these are some of the advantages of DAST, which gives it a upper edge than DAST. Okay, so now coming back to the conclusion thing, we would actually try to understand how SAST and DAST are working together. Okay, and the demand of both are very huge. Okay, even the pay scales are very much demanding. Luckily I got an opportunity to work on both of it. So there are projects where actually you will be like the projects will actually use both the things. Okay, they will use SAST before the code, before the deployment. Okay, they will test. So basically it comes under the DevSecOps criteria, where the DevOps, the security is implemented on top of that, where even in the SDLCs they will be able to, security will come into the picture, where the code once built will be analyzed, okay, using the SAST method, okay, where we analyze the code, we do the rectifications, we do the analysis of the code, we do the testing of the code, we give the remediations to them, we sit with the development team, we inform them that these are the issues, okay, and then the development team comes and resolve the issues. Once the things are done, then towards your DAST side, coming to the UAT environment or post production environment, basically you go ahead and do the testing of the application dynamically. Dynamically means from the business logic levels and everything. So both the places, the testing methods and testing approach are very very different, but the scope could be same, which as we saw earlier was OS top 10. The scope could be very much same, but the approaches and everything will change over there. How we test it, to what extent do we test it, what is the PT level we have to go ahead and perform. Okay, so in the DAST level, you get more chances to perform a PT, which is penetration testing over there. In the SAST one, you either have to sit with the development team and get it fixed, or you just have to send the report to them. The PT part comes again. I said it can be changed from project to project, where you can first time you can give a suggestion to the team where, okay, this is the flaw, this is the fix you have to do. Then they can take your suggestion, and then they can either implement it as it is, or they can enhance it and as per their changes, and they will do it. So these all things depends upon project to project. Now, coming to the dash thing, a lot of demands are there. If you go and if you're looking for any job opportunities now, you will be seeing a lot of openings where they will be asking you, or they will be like, the requirement itself will say that you should be having knowledge on SAST and DAST. Okay, so there are projects which is particularly for DAST. There are some projects which are particularly for SAST. Projects, some projects will actually ask you to give both the things. Okay, so you have to be prepared for both the things. It could be, see, the SaaS thing. You could be like, people. Some of the cybersecurity people are not fond of like coding. Okay, so that there is nothing like that. You cannot go for SaaS over there. So SaaS, in the SaaS, you just have to try to understand what that piece of code is doing. Okay, so there are multiple tools using which you can actually go ahead and learn the things. So it will give you the remediations and everything. So if we want to achieve higher things, okay, in your career, we have to go for bit of coding. We have to understand it, and uh, we if we understand the code perspective itself, it is more than enough for you to go ahead and test it. Okay, SAST is not a big task. Some might think, but it's not a big task. You just have to understand the core logic, and through your experience of 1 or 2 months, you will be able much more comfortable and understand the logics and what the things is doing, and then you will be able to even give the remediations. Though that some tools will provide you the remediations, everything, but you will be able to understand and provide it. DAST, DAST, we all know, right? We will be studying a lot of DAST things, and most of the markets people will teach DAST also. So the SaaS thing also is pretty much going up, and the pay scale for both of the things are very very high. Okay, so SaaS and DAST both, if you are very much knowledgeable on SaaS and DAST both things, people will give you a huge amount to come and test their project, because using SAST and DAST, you will be able to work around the things. You will be able to save their deployment timings and everything. Fine. So this is the basic like discussion about the SAST and DAST. What I wanted to cover in this topic, which was basically the what are the difference in the SAST and DAST. and what are the advantages and disadvantages, what are the approach that we have to do for the SAST and DAST, okay, and how SAST and DAST is actually playing a very important role today in the job opportunities, even abroad. So be it globally, the SAST and DAST, everything is very much like into the demand. Okay, so one thing is we should never underestimate the use of security tools in our day-to-day environment, as it will always prevent any occurrence of attack into an application. Okay, so it has to be implemented as much as in the SDLC, okay, which I said as software development lifecycle. Okay, so more the things get into the software development lifecycle, the more the application will be secure, and post production less vulnerabilities, critical vulnerabilities will be found, which will stop any kind of sensitive data stealing. Okay, so with the, we know that the agile environment, so right now there are a lot of big applications which will be deployed in the agile environment. Okay, it will go by step. Okay, some patches will be one part of the application will be deployed. Okay, then the second part of the application will be on the build purpose. Once that is done, again that will be deployed, then third part again that will be deployed. So if the application is only tested for the first time and they are not testing on the agile format of the next format, what could happen is if a issue is being found, okay, that could compromise the things which have already been tested also. Okay, some developers will make some of the common mistakes, like they will actually not try to hide the server errors. Okay, they will make these common practices because they it is easy for them to fix the issues. So those kind of issues, if those things go to uh, they like go to production, what could be the impact of that? So those things could be find out using DAST. Okay, the encryption logic, if suppose there tomorrow there could be an SQL injection attack, or if the database is compromised, and if the hacker gets access to the database, and if they try to decrypt the passwords, okay, and it is quite easy for them to decrypt, means the encryption format was not proper. So it we have to suggest them which SHA-256 or which SHA we have to go and try to implement it. So these are the things which have to be tested in the agile format in the continuous SDLC. So more we get into the SDLC format, the more it is good for like we can explore the different fields of the cyber security. Okay, we get to work with the SDLC, and we can get to work with the SAST, we can get to work in the DAST, we can even test to the Jenkins pipelines credentials and everything. Okay, so when the pipeline of the building, if there is there using the cloud service, everything gets tested. Okay, in that place. So this was a small topic of difference between the SAST and DAST, which we covered. Okay, if anyone has any questions, I'll be ready to take. Okay. Okay, so that would be all. Thank you, everyone. So my name is Davinder Singh, and I'll see you next time with a much more interesting topic and much more specs to your cybersecurity life. Thank you, guys. Have a nice.